Before we jump into today's show, we do have to break down this news that came in after we filmed this segment, and that is Snoop Huntley, Tyler Huntley, the quarterback who played for the Miami Dolphins in Week 4 against the Tennessee Titans. He is going to be the starter once again in Week 5 against the New England Patriots. I ultimately think this is the right decision for Miami. Huntley completed 14 of 22 passes for 96 yards, ran for 40 yards as well, and a touchdown. Although it wasn't pretty this Monday night, I think it's the right call to go with him again, and I expect him with another week of preparation, another week of understanding the playbook, to have more plays at his disposal, and the offense ultimately to be more dynamic and effective this week against New England. I think this is the right call. With that being said, let's jump into some injury news and notes around Jaelan Phillips, Odell Beckham Jr., Tua Tagovailoa, and a couple others. A lot of Miami Dolphins news to get to the day after Miami lost their third straight game on Monday Night Football going up against the Tennessee Titans. Jaelan Phillips got a major injury update. And we also got updates on Odell Beckham Jr., Cam Smith, River Craycraft, Bradley Chubb, as well as Tua Tagovailoa. So stay tuned throughout today's episode of Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. And we will talk a lot about Tua in the back half of this episode and how he is working his way back to return. Like the video for Tua as he is trying to make his return for QB1 for the Dolphins, it's evident that Miami needs him. So hit that like button to show your support for QB1. We'll start with Jaelan Phillips, who left the game against the Tennessee Titans in the second half with a knee injury, and he has already been ruled out for Week 5 against the New England Patriots. Cameron Wolfe saying that he is not expected to play with a knee injury, according to Mike McDaniel. The team is still evaluating how much time he will need to miss, but already out for Week 5 against the Patriots, which now puts a lot of pressure on the youngins and Chop Robinson. Chop Robinson, the 21st pick of the Miami Dolphins in this past NFL draft, will be needed this week in a massive role. Quentin Bell has been active for almost every game due to his special teams value, and I would expect with Jaelan Phillips out this week that Mohamed Kamara, the 5th-round pick out of Colorado State, who has been a healthy scratch for every single game this season thus far, will see his first action in the National Football League this week. It's going to require a team effort, man. It sucks. Jaelan Phillips is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL and one of the most key players on this Miami Dolphins defense. Luckily, Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, and Emmanuel Ogbah have played pretty well through the first 4 weeks of the season. But now, with Jaelan Phillips out this week, guaranteed, against the New England Patriots, they are going to have to rely on their first-round pick from 2024 in Chop Robinson. But that's not the only intriguing thing here. And I wanted to take it back to last night when Barry Jackson said this on Jaelan Phillips. McDaniel said Phillips has a brace on his leg but doesn't know more. And here's something interesting. Last night in the game, he got his knee kind of rolled up on. He left the game, hobbled, feeling okay though, right? And he was trying to pine with the training staff and medical staff of Miami to let him back in the ball game, saying, I'm good, let me go. And then the knee injury he suffered was non-contact. I don't want to speculate, but whenever you hear non-contact knee injury, it's not great. And the fact that he's already been ruled out for Week 5 tells me there might be something serious going on here. Remember, Phillips did return from a torn Achilles on Black Friday against the New York Jets. This obviously has nothing to do with the Achilles, but it is going to be interesting to see how this unfolds for Jaelan Phillips, who had an Achilles injury last year and then now an injury to his knee. Let's hope it's nothing serious. It's not an MCL or ACL, anything like that. More injury news for the Finns. Some positive, some negative, the way you looked at it. There were 5 players eligible to come off the PUP/IR list this week. Remember, 4 games if you started there. 5th week, you're eligible to come off. Odell Beckham Jr., River Craycraft, Cam Smith, Isaiah Wynn, and Bradley Chubb. The only 2 players that will have their practice window open, you get 21 days once that window is open, will be Odell Beckham Jr. and Cam Smith. So Isaiah Wynn, Bradley Chubb, and River Craycraft all will likely not return this week. Will not return this week whatsoever. The only 2 that can make it happen is Cam Smith and OBJ. I expect Smith to actually be on the field this week for Miami. expect might be a strong word, but if there had to be a choice between OBJ and Cam Smith on who is going to be able to play first for this Dolphins football team, I would guess Cam Smith. We'll see if OBJ ends up going for the Dolphins this week, but it's good to have those two back in practice because they were expected players to have a role on this Miami Dolphins football team. We're going to transition the conversation to Tua Tagovailoa here in just a second, but make sure you are started with Game Time, the #1 ticketing app out there. And if you want to go see any live event, whether it be a sporting event, comedy show, concert, theater, Game Time is your spot, especially with a new feature called Game Time Picks that allows getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's also other great features like seat views. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. They have the lowest price guaranteed. If you find a ticket for a lower price on a different service in the same exact seat, same exact section, same exact everything, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Use code CHATSPORTS when you download the app and create an account to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Let's talk about Tua now because the Miami Herald, specifically Barry Jackson, had this to say on QB1. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was well enough to attend Disney on Ice a day after being concussed on September 12th against Buffalo and hasn't experienced any symptoms, according to ESPN. That's the key part here. No symptoms after the initial concussion. But there was a science behind the team's decision to sit him out for at least a month. Adam Schefter reported Monday night that Tagovailoa has not had any symptoms in wake of his concussion, and there's a real possibility that he will be back October 27th against Arizona. Now, that is the first time he is eligible to return to the football field for the Dolphins. Remember, when you get placed on IR, you have to sit not weeks, but games. And because the Dolphins have a Week 6 bye in there, it will ultimately be 5 weeks in the NFL calendar, but only 4 games for the Fins, being against the Seahawks, the Titans, the Patriots, and the Colts, But Tua not experiencing any symptoms is really good news for Miami. And you might be wondering, well, if he has no symptoms, why has he been placed on IR? Why is he out for 4 weeks? Well, Chris Nowinski, who is a doctor, and I wouldn't say anyone crazy, but he does have a really good knowledge on the situation. He says it's a myth that the brain recovers in a week. Symptoms might go away and it functions okay, but on a cellular level, all brains need weeks to I just don't know. I'm not smart, guys. Recover. Yeah, that's too big of a word for me. Cullen tried to help me in my ear, who's producing today's show. It's just not going to go well. But either way, the real moral of the story, even though he is not experiencing any symptoms, he still needs time to have his brain fully recover from the injury. And when you talk about a player that has had multiple concussions in the past, you need to give him ample enough time to recover. Now, the fact that he has no symptoms, and after not getting hit by anyone for 5 weeks, which is what it will be, he should be fully ready to go for that game against Arizona in Week 8 on October 27th. That's good news for the Fins, as it's been very obvious that Miami needs Tua because of how poorly the offense has performed without Tagovailoa. And it really showcases how important he is to this team, 1, but also 2, that this is such a integral, high-level offense to where you do need someone that can execute it and understand it at a high level. And it's clear that Skylar Thompson, at least right now, Tyler Huntley, don't understand. So it is good news that Tua doesn't have any symptoms, but I did want to talk about this and clarify to the Fins fans that just because he doesn't have any symptoms doesn't mean that he was fully healthy and able to come back in 1 week or 2. They're going to give him a good enough time to recover, so hopefully he doesn't suffer another concussion relatively soon, because another one and a 4th confirmed concussion might actually end his career. What do you think, though? Will Tua ultimately end up playing in Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals? Type P if you think he plays. Type W if you think he doesn't. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. it certainly is going to need to be Tua Tagovailoa out there for quarterback because this offense simply has been horrific without him. And if we're going to be honest, it wasn't very good in the 7 quarters Tua was on the field for Miami. Only scored 20 points against the Jaguars, who were the worst team in football through 4 weeks. Only team that the Dolphins beat. Also the only team in the NFL that's 0-4. But the offense over the last 3 weeks has been very, very bad. And really, in Mike McDaniel's career here, as a member of the Miami Dolphins coaching staff, Tagovailoa really makes the difference for him, right? You see the record on screen right now, 20-13. That's pretty good. Without Tua, not so good, folks. 1-5. But the most crazy difference is the points per game. You see the comparison. It's 10 points per ball game. Unbelievable. Yards, 60. Touchdowns to interception ratio. Don't even look at it. It's going to gouge your eyes out. Like, Tua Tagovailoa makes all the difference in the world for this offense. And I'm sure Mike McDaniel could script an offense and have but a high leverage quarterback come in and play, and it'd still be effective. But that's also on Mike and really everyone else to not have a better backup quarterback for Tua, who is an injury-prone guy. Like, to me, I'm not going to say Mike's offense hinges on Tua, but it needs someone that is able to process, be accurate, and decisive with the football. That's what I've been saying, right? And if you watched our videos over the past 2 weeks, what have I always said? The quarterback that needs to be for the Dolphins when Mike McDaniel's your head coach needs to be accurate, decisive, and in control. Skylar Thompson's not that. Tyler Huntley was not that. So I think Tyler Huntley with more time to learn the offense could be more of that type than Skylar Thompson? Yes. And we also saw on Monday Night Football, Tyler Huntley can bring an added element to this offense through the running game. But still, it is not pretty to look at the offensive differences in terms of with Tua and without Tua. And that falls on Mike McDaniel for maybe not being as good as a head coach as we thought he was. But how about the GM, Chris Grier? Because there's been a lot of conversations on social media between Dolphins fans on if Chris Grier should get the boot. And listen, he's been the GM for 9 years now. No playoff wins, 500 record, 3 different head coaches. And Daniel makes a great point here. He says no GM in pro sports would still have a job with this profile. I could not agree more. I think if the Dolphins don't turn this season around and they finish 500, under 500, miss the playoffs, or in the top 5 or top 10 of the NFL draft, if they do not make the postseason, Chris Grier needs to go. 9 season, no playoff wins. You do not get to stay around with that type of record. It's just a terrible track record. And Chris Grier, get the boot, my friend. Get the boot. Joe Shad coming in here with something I did want to touch on before we got out of today's episode. The Dolphins. And I know a lot of people might bring up the defense on why there's been struggles. Listen, they gave up a good amount of points to the Buffalo Bills. They gave up 31 to the Tennessee Titans. But how about this interesting tidbit? 3rd down is the money down. It is. You get off the field, you win football games. You stay on the field and extend drives, you win football games. The Dolphins defense, when they get their opponent on to 3rd down, is first in the National Football League through 4 weeks in terms of getting the team off in the percentages. The offense, 25th. It's clear. The Dolphins defense is doing their job. The Dolphins offense is not, and that is why you're 1-3. So any Dolphins fans out there that is upset at the defense as well as the offense, don't be, because the entire reason why the Fins are 1-3 is because the offense has struggled to put points on the board, extend drives, and these high point totals by opposing teams against the Fins are because they are having to be on the football field for an extended amount of time due to the offense not being able to extend football drives. Terrible. All right, before we get out of here, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are facing the Patriots this week, and I would like to get a win, not only in the real world, but on the YouTube streets. Patriots Today is a channel here at Chat Sports. Start 0-0 on this Tuesday. Hit that sub button because we're still bringing you Dolphins content every single day, but also let's take down the Patriots.